Xavi being Xavi has got money in the bank, obviously. But a lot of questions we've seen in the news over the last 24 hours, questioning his substitutions, his tactics, whether or not he can actually handle these really big matches.
Yeah, I think the first thing I think in a way that's important is to try and take a step back from this game as a single game. Because, of course, the overall context of this is the team that's definitely improved, particularly since the winter window last year, that's gone into the league season and played really, really well, that's only conceded 1 goal all season, that's top of the table, and that had gone into the Champions League game. And I think Xavi is entitled to say this, and he said it yesterday, and played quite well in Milan, and played quite well in Munich, and were perhaps a little unfortunate not to win those games. And in a way, what happened last night was a consequence of those 2 games, of the fact that they're in a difficult position. And so I think some of the chaos comes from that. That said, there are some broader questions, which is how exactly do they want to set up? That some of the things that Xavi talks about, and of course we know that he's absolutely committed to what we would probably now refer to as a kind of a Cruyff or Guardiola identity, a Barcelona identity. But we don't always see the evidence of that.
Right.
So, for example, there were moments yesterday, and one of the things that really struck me was that there were moments yesterday when, if you like, the first stage of the attack, the part that's supposed to be about, if you like, the vision and the intelligence, wasn't going through Pedri, who's the player who can best do that. It was going directly to Dembélé. Now, Dembélé does lots of things really well, but he doesn't necessarily do, if you like, how would I describe it, the kind of the conceptual part of the game.
Yeah,
as well.
decision making
exactly.
is not the best.
And it felt a little bit to me like there's still a slight disconnect between the idea of what you're trying to achieve and what we're actually seeing on the pitch.
And let's get to the $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, however much it is, question. How much trouble are they in?
Right, okay, so to answer that, I suppose we need to define what we mean by trouble. Okay, so I think there's a difference between the economic side of it, and obviously part of what you're asking is definitely that, as you've said, $100 million question, whatever. Yeah. The calculations suggest that getting knocked out of the Champions League at this point could be around about a €25 million impact in terms of the direct impact, in terms of what you lose through TV rights, what you lose through potential ticketing and everything that goes with matchday revenue. Because bear in mind, there were 92,000 people in the Camp Nou yesterday. That means that the next Champions League game that would have been, for argument's sake, 92 again, or 95 or 85, doesn't happen. The one after that doesn't happen if you continue to progress. Now, will you get good attendances in the Europa League? Probably, but probably not quite as good.
Especially Frankfurt turn up.
Exactly. The ticket prices won't be quite so high. The TV rights obviously are not so high. Now, some of it is mitigated by continuing in the Europa League. But I think there's another element to this, which is a kind of an emotional side to this, and the sense that what Barcelona did in the summer was take a gamble, was to say, right, we do this now, we know it's slightly risky, we know we're denying ourselves income in the future because, of course, what we've done is sell off future assets. But that is about kick-starting this whole process. It's about this team being strong and competitive now. To use Laporta's own words, it's about the virtuous cycle. Okay. The trouble is that cycle's just broken. Now, it's not broken entirely, of course it's not, because they've got the Europa League, because they're performing well in La Liga, because this team is emerging, and it will get better. But I think emotionally, the impact's really, really big.
And that affects the players, the fans, the whole city.
Yeah, the whole city. And Busquets mentioning, yeah, we are going to be affected for El Clásico, and that's something that no one wants to hear from a player perspective, you know. So at the end, it's not easy to face this situation, but it's not all lost. I mean, we are going to say that, yeah, Champions League is a massive thing. They're going to probably struggle in the coming months, but definitely is going to mark the way if they are doing and keeping consistency in La Liga.
We've been here before, haven't we?
Yeah,
this is what it was all about. This is what the summer was about. So you don't get embarrassed and get knocked out of the group stages again.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that it's very important that the reaction is straight away that Barcelona against Real Madrid at this weekend has to be a must win for the mentally, for the crowd, for everybody surrounding Barcelona, because if not, definitely it could be devastated.
It could be the perfect fixture for Barcelona.
In a way,
or the worst one.
Or the worst one.
Yeah, I think that's it, and they have to cling to the idea that this can be the perfect one. Now, you look at this month as well, and this was always going to be a difficult month. Yeah. And to be honest, from a pessimistic point of view, you could look at this month and think, wow, there's a chance that Barcelona's season is finished by the end of October. Now, obviously, that's a very pessimistic view of it, but you've got Real Madrid, you've got Inter, you've got Bayern, you've got Athletic, you've got Villarreal, I believe. You've got a whole series of really difficult fixtures in October, at the same time as which Real Madrid have got a lot of games, but slightly more comfortable ones, and it's problematic for them, very problematic.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.